Well, good morning and welcome to Tuesdays with the Pilgrim. Today we're going to start a new book, continuing reading from the author C.S. Lewis, and we're going to start reading the Screwtape Letters. Now, I thought I'd read you a little introduction to the Screwtape Letters just so you maybe have a better idea of what's going on. The Screwtape Letters is a Christian apologetic novel by C.S. Lewis and dedicated to J.R.R. Tolkien. It is written in a satirical, epistolary style, and while it is fictional in format, the plot and characters are used to address Christian theological issues, primarily those to do with temptation and the resistance to it. This book was first published in February of 1942. The story takes the form of a series of letters from a senior demon, named Screwtape, to his nephew, Wormwood, a junior tempter. The uncle's mentorship pertains to the nephew's responsibility in securing the damnation of a British man known only as the Patient. So there you go. It gives you a little background and helps you to understand that this was written during World War II. So some of what goes on in the letters and that need to be read in that light, that it's during the war era. Today we are going to start by reading the preface, and we'll pick up with chapter 1 next week. So here's the preface. And this is C.S. Lewis speaking in the preface, just in case you're wondering. I have no intention of explaining how the correspondence which I now offer to the public fell into my hands. There are two equal and opposite errors into which our race can fall about devils. One is to disbelieve in their existence. The other is to believe, and to feel an excessive and unhealthy interest in them. They themselves are equally pleased by both errors, and hail a materialist or a magician with the same delight. The sort of script which is used in this book can be very easily attained by anyone who has once learned the knack, but ill-disposed or excitable people who might make a bad use of it shall not learn it from me. Readers are advised to remember that the devil is a liar and deceiver. Not everything that Screwtape says should be assumed to be true, even from his own angle. I have made no attempt to identify any of the human beings mentioned in the letters, but I think it is very unlikely that the portraits, say of Father Spike or the patient's mother, are wholly just. There is wishful thinking in hell as well as on earth. In conclusion, I ought to add that no effort has been made to clear up the chronology of the letters. Number 17 appears to have been composed before rationing became serious, but in general the diabolical method of dating seems to bear no relation to the terrestrial time, and I have not attempted to reproduce it. The history of the European War, except in so far as it happens now and then to impinge upon the spiritual condition of one human, was obviously of no interest to Screwtape. Sincerely, C.S. Lewis, Magdalen College, July 5th, 1941. Now, as I said, the preface was written in 1941, but the book was not published till 1942. Part of that due to the war raging in Europe. And you'll notice he mentions in the preface rationing, which came into effect during war in England. As a child, I remember seeing a photograph my mother had taken of her week's rations that she was given to survive during the war. And if you gave that to a person today, they'd probably say, "You expect me to live on this for a day?" But no, that was for a week. My mother was fortunate that she lived on a farm, and so they were allowed to keep 10% of what they raised, eggs and other things, and the rest, the other 90%, went to the government for the war effort. So they were able to eke out and stretch out their rations a bit with the produce of the farm. But if you lived in a city, you didn't get a whole lot. You can probably Google and try and find. After my father passed away and I cleaned out the house, I couldn't find the photograph. I don't know what happened to it. I would have loved to have had it. Just to kind of remind people of how well off we have it today. No matter how hard sometimes we think we have it, much better than some of our parents and grandparents did in the past. So, I'll leave you with that and those thoughts for this week. Next week we will begin with Chapter 1 of the Screwtape Letters. Until then, take care, stay safe, and God bless.